You don't need strength. You need leverage. Listen carefully. Strength alone is a fantasy. Men worship it because it's visible muscle, money, dominance. But strength is crude. A hammer smashing blindly. Real power is quieter. Precision. Ruthless insight. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise man should never put himself in the position of depending entirely on the faith of others." He knew victory doesn't come from who hits hardest. It comes from knowing where to press your thumb until the other man breaks. I learned this not in books, but in blood. Picture this. A back alley at night, cold air biting the lungs, trash rotting sweet in the gutters. I wasn't the biggest, not the strongest. But I knew the other man couldn't stand being laughed at. That was his crack. The second I mocked him, not with fists, but with silence and a smirk, he lost control. His rage made him sloppy. That's how I won. Not because I was strong. Because I knew what he couldn't lose his pride. That's the truth you've avoided. Everyone has a weakness. Everyone. The king, the priest, the fighter, the lover, even you. And until you face it, you're a slave waiting for the right hand to pull your chain. The illusion you've been sold is that fairness exists. That strength is measured by who lifts the most, who shouts the loudest, who looks untouchable. That's cowardice dressed as virtue. Out there in the boardroom, the street, battlefield of relationship strength means nothing if it isn't aimed at the fracture. You want control? Stop worshiping strength. Start studying weakness. Smell the sweat of the man across from you. Watch how his eyes dart when you mention her name. Hear the tremor when money comes up. Weakness isn't hidden. It leaks out of every pore. But most men are too blind, too polite, too naive to look. They want to believe in strength. They want to believe in honor. They want to believe in fairness. And that's why they fall. I've fallen too. I trusted the wrong faces. I mistook loyalty for permanence. I thought discipline was enough to shield me. Then betrayal cut me open like a blade. You only understand leverage when you're pinned against a wall, someone's hand on your throat, and you realize it's not the hand that matters. It's the secret behind it, the thing they're willing to crush you for. Here's the wound you must accept. You cannot master life without mastering weakness. Not just theirs, yours, especially yours. The one thing you can't stand to lose: your pride, your reputation, your comfort, your illusions. The enemy will find it. Life will find it. If you don't confront it first, it will break you when it matters most. This is not theory. This is war, psychological war. Every conversation is a duel. Every relationship a negotiation of power. Every silence a test. If you keep living blind to weakness, you're already conquered. You just haven't noticed the chains yet. So hear me. Do not chase strength like a fool. Strength is only the weapon. Leverage is the hand that wields it. And leverage comes from one brutal truth. Everyone has a weakness. Find it or be destroyed by it. You think people are solid, untouchable. The boss who walks in with his iron suit and polished smile. The fighter with tattoos across his chest. The lover who swears loyalty with steady eyes. They look armored like steel. But steel always carries a fracture line, invisible at first, until pressure finds it, until heat exposes it. That's when it splits wide open. Every man, every woman, every so-called strong leader you've ever feared or envied carries a crack in the armor. And if you can't see it, you're already beneath them. Here's what they don't tell you. Weakness isn't hidden in silence. It's written in excess. The loudest man in the room is usually the most fragile. The woman who parades her independence often fears abandonment the most. The tyrant who rules by fear can't stand irrelevance. Remember this. What people display as strength is often camouflage for the exact wound that would destroy them. Machiavelli whispered the same truth. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Strip away the robe, the uniform, the applause, and suddenly the emperor is naked. Find the crack, and the rest crumbles. Let me give you blood, not theory. Once I knew a man who built his life on wealth. Money was his armor. He flashed it, wore it, made it the rhythm of his breathing. People bowed to it, envied it, hated it. But when the market collapsed, when the numbers on his screen bled red, he wasn't just broke. He was broken. He wasn't a man anymore. He was dust wearing a suit. That was his crack. Money wasn't his weapon. It was his leash. What about you? Don't look away. What's the one thing you couldn't bear to lose? Reputation? Validation? Your lover's eyes? That secret shame you'd rather die than confess? Don't lie to yourself. You already know what it is. And if you know, so can someone else. So can the enemy. This is where the illusion dies. Strength doesn't save you if you don't know the fracture line running through your chest. Discipline, muscles, words, they all collapse if someone presses the right pressure point. And trust me, they will. Life will. The wolves will. And when they do, you won't break slowly. You'll shatter instantly. So what do? You start hunting the cracks. In others, yes, but first in yourself. Stand in the dark and say it out loud. This is my weakness. This is my crack. Name it, because if you can't, someone else will. And when they do, they'll own you. Don't mistake this for paranoia. This is clarity. The warrior doesn't pretend the armor is perfect. He studies where it's weakest. He reinforces it. Or he learns how to bleed without dying. The coward pretends the armor is invincible until it splits. Your challenge, tonight, sit alone in silence. No screens, no distractions. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I cannot lose without crumbling? Don't stop until you taste the answer like blood in your mouth. That is your crack in the armor. From now on, it is your battlefield. Because here's the law. You can't wield power until you can see weakness. And you can't survive until you face your own. Every man has a price, but it's never written in gold or silver. It's written in pain. Listen, you don't truly know someone until you see what they cannot endure. Forget what they brag about. Forget what they flaunt. The real measure of a man is the wound that terrifies him. Some men would rather die than be humiliated. Others would burn their house down before being seen poor. Some cling to love like a drowning man clings to driftwood. Strip them of it, and you own them. I've seen it. A commander who looked carved from stone, commanding hundreds with a voice that never trembled. But whisper a certain name from his past, and his jaw cracked, his hands shook. That was his true battlefield buried in memory. The chain around his throat wasn't steel. It was shame. Here's the brutal reality. Pain is currency. People spend their entire lives protecting themselves from it. And if you can see where they will spend everything just to avoid it, you can own them without lifting a blade. Think about it. In negotiations, it's not the numbers that matter. It's the fear of loss. A man might walk away from a gain, but threaten to take what he can't stand to lose, and he'll crawl at your feet. In love, it's not devotion that binds. It's the terror of abandonment. In politics, it's not ideals that rule, it's the fear of disgrace. But don't get self-righteous. This isn't just about them. This is about you. What pain shapes your choices? What would make you betray your principles, your discipline, your soul? Don't pretend you're immune. The one thing you'd do anything to avoid, that's your leash. And life will pull it hard. I'll tell you my scar. Once, I thought I was untouchable. I had endured fights, hunger, betrayal. I thought pain was beneath me. But then I lost someone I loved. And suddenly every discipline, every principle, every ounce of control, I watched it bleed out on the floor. That was my currency. I paid in weakness until I was bankrupt. The lesson? You never escape pain. You only choose the form of it. And the man who knows his price cannot be bought cheaply. The man who ignores it, he's already sold. Here's your challenge. Find the pain you cannot endure. Name it, write it, sit with it until it claws at your throat. Then ask, will you let this leash guide your enemies to your throat? Or will you forge it into armor? Because until you master it, you are owned. Pain is the only currency men cannot counterfeit. Learn to read it, and you'll see through every mask. Learn to master it, and no one will ever hold your chain again. So stop asking what makes you strong. Ask instead, what pain will I pay at any cost to avoid? That answer will tell you whether you are free or already enslaved. Every human being wears a mask. Don't lie to yourself, you do too. The mask is protection, performance, survival. It's the smile when you're seething inside, the calm tone when your blood is boiling, a polished introduction that hides the hunger in your gut. But here's the truth. A mask doesn't hide weakness. It advertises it. Loudly. You just haven't trained your eyes to see it yet. The mask is always too perfect. The man who insists he's fearless, he's hiding a terror so deep it keeps him awake at night. The woman who preaches loyalty? She's terrified of being abandoned. The leader who postures with absolute certainty? He's masking doubt that gnaws at his ribs. Hear us the part no one tells you. It is not the mask that betrays them. It's the scar underneath. Scars tell the story of what broke them before. You don't just study the mask. They chose that mask for a reason. You study the wound it's covering. I remember a man who never let a joke pass. Every room, he was the one laughing loudest, mocking others, cutting with words. The mask? Confidence. The scar? He'd been humiliated once in front of a crowd. That scar bled every time someone might laugh at him. His mask was armor, but also a map to his wound. And I'll tell you something personal. My mask used to be silence. I thought if I kept my words locked inside, I'd be untouchable, that nobody could use my truth against me. But silence was my scar. It came from years of betrayal, where everything I revealed became a weapon. My mask was indifference, but underneath was fear of exposure. That's when I learned every mask is stitched from pain. Here's the warrior's skill. Learn to see past the performance. Don't get hypnotized by the mask. Study what it costs to maintain it. Masks are heavy. They drain. Watch closely and you'll see the strain. The crack of the voice. The twitch of the eyes. The hesitation before answer. That's the scar speaking through the mask. But this is not just about others. It's about you. What mask do you wear? The stoic? The unbreakable? The ambitious climber? Don't lie, you've rehearsed it in the mirror, whether you admit it or not. And if I pressed you hard, relentless you'd eventually break, and the scar beneath would show. Your challenge is this. Strip your own mask. Not in public alone, where no one is watching. Stand before the mirror. Remove every performance, every role. Face the scar it's hiding. Don't flinch. Because until you can stare at that scar without shame, you'll keep bleeding through the mask. And others will see it before you do. Power doesn't come from wearing the perfect mask. It comes from knowing the scar underneath and refusing to let it control you. So stop asking, what face should I show the world? Ask instead, what scar am I hiding and who will use it against me if I don't to master it first? The mask is your illusion. The scar is your truth. Learn to wield both or both will be used against you. Weakness, once discovered, is no longer neutral. It is a lever, a weapon, a chain waiting to be fastened. The tragedy of most men is that they stumble upon another's weakness and do nothing. They hesitate. They flinch. They mistake pity for virtue. And in that moment, they surrender the battlefield of power. But weakness is currency. The one who controls it owns the narrative. Think of the Roman generals who didn't just defeat their enemies, but paraded them in chains through the streets of Rome. Weakness transformed into spectacle, into submission, into history itself. To see a weakness and leave it untouched is to waste the opportunity of a lifetime. The first law: exploit it. Do not mistake exploitation for cruelty. It is simply the art of leverage. If a man's pride is his weakness, inflate it until it blinds him. If his fear is exposure, push him toward the light. If he trembles at loss, force him into impossible choices where every path costs him dearly. You don't strike a man where he is strong. You strike him where he cannot defend. The second law: guard your own. The weak reveal themselves in moments of pressure, but so will you. Just as you stalk the flaws of others, there are hunters watching for yours. Here lies the cruel irony. What you exploit in others will be used against you. The chain you fasten around their neck may one day be fastened around yours. That is why the highest discipline is not merely spotting weakness, but mastering your own. To chain yourself before another does. History is filled with those who understood this double blade. Julius Caesar, who knew the Senate's weakness was their hunger for status, he offered them titles, honors, and meaningless ceremonies, chaining them with their own vanity until they were his captives in all but name. But he also guarded his own image relentlessly, never letting the people glimpse hesitation, never exposing the scars of fear that could be turned against him. To exploit without guarding is arrogance. To guard without exploiting is cowardice. Mastery is both. Here is the final cruelty. You cannot eliminate weakness. You cannot erase the crack in your armor. You can only chain it. Bind it with discipline. Lock it behind self-awareness. Turn it into something you rather than something that you ses you. The man who pretends to have no weakness is already enslaved by it. The man who accepts and controls it becomes untouchable. Remember this. Every relationship, every negotiation, every confrontation is a game of chains. Either you are the one fastening them, or you are the one bound. The weak believe freedom comes from hiding their flaws. The strong know freedom comes from mastering them and chaining the flaws of others. So ask yourself, whose chains are you wearing right now? And whose will you fasten next? The final scar. No one escapes the price. Every scar tells a story. Some we wear proudly. Others we bury beneath layers of silence and shame. But Nietzsche reminds us, there is no life without scars. The world itself is carved by chaos, betrayal, struggle, and endless transformation. And if you dare to live fully, you will not escape the wound. The final scar is the mark that no mask can hide. It is not just the betrayal you endured, or the pain you carried. It is the undeniable proof that you existed, that you collided with life, that you risked yourself, that you paid the price of becoming. Too many people spend their years running from this truth, clinging to comfort, hoping to walk through existence untouched. But the untouched never truly lived. They die without scars and worse without stories. Nietzsche asks, would you not rather be broken and rebuilt stronger than remain untested and hollow? The betrayal you suffered was not the end, it was a compass. The rejection, the humiliation, the collapse, they were not chains, but chisels. Each wound was sculpting you into something harder, sharper, more uncheckable. Your scars are the map of your becoming. And yet there is a danger. A scar can become a prison, a permanent mask of bitterness if you choose resentment instead of power. But if you choose otherwise, if you turn every scar into iron, every loss into fire, you transcend the wound itself. You become untouchable, not because you avoided pain, but because you absorbed it and transmuted it into strength. This is the cruel law of existence. No one escapes the price. But those who accept it, who embrace suffering as the currency of greatness, rise above the herd. The scar is no longer a mark of defeat. It is the signature of the warrior who refused to collapse. So the question is not whether you will be scarred. You already are. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you hide it, rot in silence, and let life break you? Or will you wear it as armor, as proof that you lived dangerously, as Nietzsche demanded? The final scar cannot be erased, but it can be redefined. Yours is not weakness, it is the seal of your becoming. Now, it's your move. Subscribe to the Inner Citadel Project, because here, we do not run from the wound. We build the empire within it. Comment below. What scar still defines you, and how will you turn it into your strength?